Hi, my name is Todd Leonard.
And my name is Herb Montgomery, and we're just talking.
Thanks for clicking the thumb icon, the subscribe button, and the bell icon. The wise men brought three gifts to Jesus, and you can bring those three gifts to Herb and I.
So if you're unfamiliar with this channel, each week Todd and I take a moment to talk about the upcoming weekend's lectionary reading from the Gospels. And our goal is to talk about those readings in the context of love and inclusion and social justice. And our hope is that our talking will be just talking, as in justice, but that also something that is said during this time between us would inspire you along with us to do more than just talking. So, Todd, what passage are we looking at this week?
We are looking at Luke chapter 1, verses 39 through 55. It's week 4 of Advent, and we've got Elizabeth and Mary. John the Baptist is in Elizabeth's womb and leaps when Mary comes into the room carrying Jesus, and then Elizabeth breaks into song, and then Mary breaks into song.
Yeah. So, I mean, Luke is, and we're going to see this again when we get into Christmas stuff, but Luke or rather we're going to see this again when we go through the childhood narrative where Jesus shows up in the temple. But what the author of the Gospel of Luke is doing here, by the time the Gospel of Luke is being written down, the Jesus movement had evolved to be more than just a Jewish renewal movement. It had become very cosmopolitan, right? And so the population was mixed, Gentile and Jewish. And the Gentile Jesus followers, they valued where the Jewish Jesus followers had all this rich Jewish history and Jewish wisdom that they were applying, following Jesus out of, not out of, like away from, but as a foundation to their Jesus
Right.
following. The Gentile Jesus followers, they had their own foundation that they were following Jesus out of, right? And part of that was the Hellenistic folklore stories for heroes, the biographies of whoever was significant in their
Mm-hmm.
culture. There is always a child, well, like there's just one, like a childhood story thrown in there, right? That
Mm-hmm.
kind of foretells what kind of a adult this child is going to be. And that's what's happening here. I mean, John the Baptist is a foretelling of what John the Baptist and Jesus's relationship will be. John leaps for joy even in the womb, which is, I mean, come on. Anyway,
Oh,
really? But anyway,
Herb.
I'm
Oh,
sorry.
Herb.
Sorry, she probably ate some hot peppers. But
Bucket.
anyway, no, it's a story that was written for the sake of foretelling,
Right.
how John's gonna relate to Jesus, and but my favorite part, and we can talk about John and Jesus and leaping and all that too. But my favorite part is Mary's Magnificat. I love that. So anyway, where do you want to
Yeah.
start?
Well, I thought you were going to go with John the Baptist leaping in Mary's womb to the 12 Days of Christmas Carol and the 10 Lords of Leaping.
Oh,
I thought you were going to make a tie into that. Excuse me.
now
So,
that's
no,
great. I wish I had now.
that's,
That's way more
see,
creative than hot peppers.
I'm got some biblical scholarship of my own, Herb. Um, so
Oh,
yeah, I absolutely adore this passage. I really want all of this to be exactly true. I want this old lady Elizabeth
who's
to
pregnant and carrying a child?
who's pregnant and carrying a child. I want her to 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 feel John leap in her womb and break out in song. And I want 14-year-old Mary to uh, to 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 sing this profound, powerful, just warrior like song. I want this. I love it. I absolutely, this is, for me, this is some of the best stuff
That's
of
fair.
the birth narrative. I absolutely love it. And so,
I'm not as attached to John the Baptist leaping as I am to Mary's song. Mary's song is what I love in this passage.
yeah. Well, and that's what we're going to spend our lion's share of our time on today. But I think that's a wonderful allusion to John's and Jesus' relationship and what John will do. I think it's it's either a magnificent factual account or it's fantastic storytelling. Either way, I love it.
Either way, there's good stuff here.
Yes.
So let's jump into Mary's song then, dude. There are some phrases here. And before we get into those phrases, actually, I want to take a moment just to note. I know this is Advent, but we're quickly going into Christmas. And this is borderline Christmas. You know what I mean? Mary's Magnificat is, I know it's Advent, but we're getting
It's
really
kind of
close.
celebratory. It's kind of
Yeah.
celebratory. It's moving out of the realm of the yearning, and
Yeah.
it's getting a little
Yeah.
trash talking.
So the birth narratives of Jesus, something that we cannot miss are the social locations that are lifted up. And that's really what we're going to talk about with Mary's song here too. But it's not just Mary's song. Yeah, I'm thinking about just overall um in a patriarchal culture, Mary, and you just mentioned it, is a 14-year-old girl that has no connection to a man as yet. She's an unwed 14-year-old who she's the central figure. You know, she's the one that gets, and when Jesus is born, he's born to not wealthy parents, but to poor parents who are, part of the working class on the margins of their society. And the announcement once Jesus is born, the announcement that Jesus is born in Luke is to the working class shepherds in the field. They were the that was not a cool job. I mean, that was not
No,
a looked upon, it was not a job of honor. You know what I mean?
no.
It was a job that most people looked down on, from their higher places in society. And then, shortly after Jesus is born, while he's still a child, his parents become migrant refugees seeking to escape from the violence of their own country and sneaking across a border into another country for safety, right? And
It's almost like those from Gaza who are trying to get into Egypt, and but in this story, they were actually able to get into Egypt.
yeah, yeah, this
That's
is
the
Jesus.
it's refugees. Yes.
Yeah. So I think we need to be careful not to miss the social locations that are being centralized in the Jesus narrative, because
Mm,
it isn't the typical social locations that are normally centralized. It's not the powerful, the propertied, and the privileged. It's the ones I just mentioned. It's those that are more on the edges and the undersides of their society. They're the figures in the story.
yeah, it's not
They're the lead
those in the
characters.
Renaissance. It's not those in the Renaissance paintings. It's not the ones that as magnificent as the as Michelangelo's and the other artists of the times paintings were. They nothing nothing of this account that Luke is telling is anything
Right.
like uh, what those artists' depictions from the Middle Ages were doing.
And that's Mary's almost first phrase in her song. She talks about the humble state of his servant, right?
Mm,
She's not talking about a character attribute that she has, that she's like totally
mm.
humble. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
She's so humble. She wishes everyone else would be as humble as she. She's not. She's
It's
not.
not a humble
She's it.
brag.
It's not about her humility. It's about her humble state.
Yeah.
It's about what social location she is trying to
She's an
scratch out an existence
unwed
in.
peasant mother. That's who she
Yeah.
is.
Yeah. Yeah. And other phrases that jump out of me, those are proud in their inmost thoughts. Those who think they're better than others for whatever
Hmm.
reason. Bringing down rulers from their thrones, lifting up the humble. And again, this isn't those who practice humility, it's those that have more humble statuses or states in
Hmm.
life.
Hmm.
Filling the hungry with good things, sending the rich away empty, and then remembering the promise to the ancestors. So, which phrases jump out to you, Todd? Which one? Which one? Which one? What? I mean, Mary's song. Where do we start?
Yeah, I love I love how she starts with saying he's chosen to remember me.
Yeah,
At this lowly servant, he is chosen to remember me, and I get this privilege of being called blessed because he came to me and showered, and I'm adding words now, but as poured blessing upon me. Um,
she gets to be Mary, the mother of God.
yeah, and that's that's all out of that's a God justice moment right there. That is the God saying, "Watch me do all my work through the people who
Whom society usually doesn't
is
favor.
right."
I mean, life is unfair, and there are people on this planet scratching out an existence in a world where they didn't win the ovarian lottery. You know what I mean? Their life is not. I mean, and I'm not saying they're miserable. I mean, I know a lot of people, and I said they make the best of it. And they're happy people, and they're giving people, but they're dealing with life from a position, from a status that's unfair to them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And in this story, it's those who are in that place, like you said, that are being
Yeah,
chosen to be featured.
it's beautiful. But it is. This is it just as she continues to speak, she just gets, like you said, it moves from Advent to, I mean, she's really almost not prophesying. She's almost speaking as if this all is already true.
Hmm.
She's speaking. He has brought
Right,
down the
right, right.
powerful from their thrones and lifted up the lowly. He has filled the hungry. She is speaking
This is a
as
done
if
deal.
this fact of having placed the Messiah in her womb has already flipped the script and changed everything already. And I love I love that imagery because I think you see that in liberation movements where people often are the
Before it happens, they're
claiming
claiming
the
it.
promise before it happens, that they're saying
Mhm.
this is happening. We see God at work even in the midst of very difficult circumstances. In the midst, they find the nugget of God's movement in the midst of persecution and suffering, and they say da 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 God's bringing down the powerful. Boom, baby, this is happening, and
Yeah.
that's what good liberation justice does, and when people rally around that, and this is so again, this is whether this is fact or great narrative, there is so much deep truth being spoken right here. It's profound.
Yeah, and I love that she's waxing kind of like the Hebrew prophets of old, you know. She's kind of
Mm-hmm.
getting cranked here where she says things
Mm-hmm.
like scattering the proud, bringing down rulers from their thrones. This is not meek and mild.
No.
Bringing down rulers from their thrones, sending the rich away empty.
Mm.
This is an offensive Christmas carol.
Why don't we
You
sing? Yeah, why don't we sing this at
right
Christmas?
exactly.
I've missed this in
Yeah.
the hymns.
Yeah, I remember just a few years ago, I just quoted Luke 6, where it said, "Blessed are the poor, for they shall inherit the kingdom, but woe to you who are rich." And man, I got poundstone on Facebook just for quoting that. I was like, why are you upset at me? I just posted the verse. Just the verse. I
You
didn't say it.
you got a problem with it, you got to take it up with Jesus.
I mean, really. But I love this is a total social location flip. This is a once again, last shall be first and first shall be last.
Mm,
Those of you who are benefiting from the way society is shaped right now, now you're brought down low. And
mm,
those who have a more humble position in life, they're going to be lifted up. It's that you know lower. It's what we talked about weeks ago, where every valley is lifted up and every mountain is brought low, and there's this equalizing happening, this equity that's happening. If you're living on the mountaintops, that is problematic. That is not like that. That's not good news to you
mm-hmm.
necessarily. I mean, that doesn't feel like good news to you. I mean, there is a
Right.
reclaiming of your humanity in that process that is good for you, but you don't interpret it as good for you initially. And for those that are living in the valley, having every valley lifted up, that's great news for them. Again, if you're last, the first shall be last and last shall be first. Good news. If you see
Yep.
yourselves as first, it's at least problematic. And so,
Yep.
there's this same thing beginning in the Gospel of Luke. It begins right here. This is where it starts,
Mm,
the bringing down and the lifting up,
mm.
filling the hungry, sending the rich away empty.
And again, this comes from a person, again, who has every, or maybe not every, but so many social status uh, categories stacked against her.
Yeah.
To she should already, even at 14, should know her place, and to know to say these things in her position is absurd, except that she's been visited by a messenger who
Yeah.
says you are favored, and all of a sudden she's she's feeling new life grow in her, and she believes that this is the blessing of God, and she totally breaks out of stereotype to pronounce this message. She is completely wrecking who she's supposed to be and doing the
She's
exact
not staying in
opposite.
her place.
That's exactly right. She doesn't know her place.
Yeah. Can I raise something that's a little maybe heretical here, or it'll be viewed as heretical? I don't believe it's heretical, or I wouldn't believe it. But so this last phrase, remembering to be merciful to Abraham and his descendants forever, just as he promised our ancestors. In Acts 13:32 and 33, it says, "We tell you the good news that what God promised our ancestors, he has fulfilled for us." The promise of the ancestors, and this goes right along with what we're saying, the Jewish hope was nothing about afterlife or getting to heaven or
Hmm.
having that assurance. It was that all injustice, all oppression, all violence would be put right in the earth here and
Mm.
now. In Mary's Magnificat, there is nothing here about sins being paid for.
No.
There's nothing here about the blood.
No.
There's nothing here about the assurance of the afterlife now. There's no gratefulness for any of the things that Christians today praise Jesus for and are
Right.
thankful for.
That's
Her
right.
gratitude, 100% of her gratitude, is for what God is going to be doing through Jesus for people in this life,
Yep.
in the here and now. It's about
Right.
it's about restoration of justice, undoing injustice, bringing an end to violence, bringing an end to oppression.
Mm.
This was the ancient Jewish hope. It wasn't to become some disembodied soul on some
No.
far distant. And it's not about even escaping into some inward, private, pious spirituality. You know what I'm saying? There's none of that in this song. There's nothing
No.
traditionally
No.
Christian about this. It's
No.
actually she's extolling a pretty social justicey. I know that's not a word, but social justicey kind of. This is what she's excited about: is that justice is coming to her and all those like her who are scratching out an existence in
Mm.
in her own status.
And here's the thing: you don't have the bandwidth, the luxury, the leisure
That's a good point.
to pursue an inward spirituality and ask existential questions about God and explore the heights towards some eternal portal in the sky when you can barely find enough food to feed your kids
For
and
today.
for today. There is, you don't have the 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 time or energy until your enemies are eradicated and you are able to get the economic justice that you deserve. You don't have time for any of that. And so no one in Mary's position, no one in any of her neighbor's position could give, I will not be vulgar,
I hear you. I hear
could
you. You don't have the
give,
bandwidth to concern
could
yourself with
give a
that stuff.
darn about
Right.
that stuff.
Right.
They they just want to be out from under the iron thumb of Rome.
Yeah. And it's largely, you're right, largely economic here,
Mm-hmm.
but in our context today here in the US, it's not just economic, right?
Right.
Like there's racial injustice that people are suffering. There's gender injustice and inequity that people are suffering. There's LGBTQ inequity and injustice. I mean, the economic, sure, but I'm thinking about ableism and all that. There's
Mm-hmm.
so many forms of injustice, and there's so many bases. What's the right word there? There are so a basis. The basis for there are multiple. I don't know what the plural for basis is.
There is more than one basis.
There's more than one basis for injustice in our society today for it to
Yes.
be somehow justified in those who are practicing that injustice. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's so many reasons. There's so many different types of injustice that
Yeah.
um, we are experiencing here today in our society that all of this still applies. All of this still
Right.
applies.
Absolutely.
It's
Absolutely.
it's about injustice giving way to justice
Mm.
rather than us escaping this world and going
That's
to
right.
eternal bliss. There's none of that in this song.
No. No, I
She's
love
not
the.
excited because of a ticket to heaven. She's excited
No.
because the life of many who are oppressed and marginalized is going to be now radically different.
And let's be honest, how much stock do you put in a ticket to heaven being any better if if this eternal life promise from God is supposedly everything's going to be better? How can you really count on that when he's made this life and he's told you that this life
Yeah,
is
no,
going to be just
that,
one of constant suffering? How much stock can you actually put in that? It would seem like there is. I would say if God isn't working to to bring people together and to work to bring justice now, then how can I have confidence that there is a just future for this world or anywhere else for that matter if God's not invested in what's going on right now?
yeah, 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 good point. Good point. So, in that same vein of focusing on justice being restored in the here and now, rather than us just getting, the last trolley out of Dodge, what came to my mind this week was the abolitionist hymn, the Christmas hymn, "O Holy Night." And there's a verse there that most of us don't sing anymore. I didn't even know it existed until a few years ago.
Hmm.
But the verse, I think it's the third verse, whatever it is. It's
Yeah,
not
they usually
second.
only sing the first two. Yeah.
Yeah. And the third verse says, "Truly, truly he taught us to love one another. His law is love and his gospel is peace. Change chains shall he break, for the slave is our brother, and in his name all oppression shall cease." Now, granted, this is still written in a patriarchal culture because all the pronouns and nouns are male,
Mm-hmm.
right? Right. But for an abolitionist to say that in whose name all oppression shall cease, and to call people to recognize that those who are enslaved are not less than, they are our
Mm-hmm.
siblings.
Mm-hmm.
That was in Mary's style, in Mary's Magnificat style.
Yeah.
That would have been a hard pill for a lot of white slave owners to swallow back in the day.
Right. Right.
And yet that was a Christmas hymn. So I think the
Powerful.
birth narratives are about much more than what Christianity has settled for
Yeah.
today. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
about changing the here and now.
Yeah. I think it's again, we've looked now for 4 weeks at passages tied to Advent, tied to hoping for God to step in to do God's work of salvation. And every week we're looking at passages that say God's work of salvation is to act in the here and now to bring justice to the oppressed. That
Yeah,
is the work of salvation. It's happening.
yeah,
It's being spoken every week, and now tonight in this song of Mary. It is it is the same message again and again.
yeah. A world where everyone has enough.
Yeah, yeah,
No one's, and they don't have enough just to survive. They have enough to thrive.
yeah,
That's what Mary's excited about.
yeah.
And that's very different than what I was taught to be excited about growing up in Christianity.
Right. No, we're it was a whole different story back then. But I tell you, when you interact with folks who are living from paycheck to paycheck and not making it on paycheck to
Mm,
paycheck
mm,
today, and I would say that those folks are, from a comparison standpoint, living a marginally better way of living than what folks in Mary's time were living. I think we could say they're certainly living better, but it's still very difficult, very meager existence. You spend time interacting with people like that. To talk about Christianity, to talk about getting right with God. I've had conversations. One of the sweetest people I knew when I was living in Los Angeles was the person who gave me drive-through Taco Bell on a regular basis, and she worked at Taco Bell only part-time, and she worked at another place only part-time. Why? Because neither place would hire her for full-time because they didn't want to give her benefits. So she worked part-time at two places, not getting benefits from either place, working 7 days a week, eking out an existence to raise her two kids and provide for herself and provide for, I believe, at least one parent. And she didn't need to hear about the gospel of knowing God somewhere else. She needed a better job. She needed to get a day off a week from work. She needed health insurance. Those were the things that she, if she could sing, I think she would be singing about when she is hoping
Oh,
for
that is such a good
God to
point.
speak into her life.
Man, if the story was rewritten in our context today, Mary would be seeking about universal health care.
Yeah,
She'd be singing about having enough money from her paycheck to, to be able to feed her family.
yeah,
It's such a different. That's what salvation would look like.
yeah.
That's how it would be defined.
Right now I'm working with valets parking cars for people at a luxury hotel establishment. And I can tell you that between 2/3 and 3/4 of the guests at the hotel, the luxury hotel, where room rates are well over $100 a night, those guests do not tip the valet. The valets are hired by a corporation who do not pay them a living wage.
Mm.
And so they depend on the tips to make up for not being paid a living wage. And so I watch my fellow coworkers, and I have the privilege of watching this because I know that my working there is temporary while I'm in school. But I'm watching coworkers, some who have worked there for years, being screwed by their employer who won't pay them a living wage, and being screwed by hotel guests, many of whom we're picking up their 30, 40, 50,000, $80,000 cars from the parking garage and pulling them around to them, and them not being willing to pull $3 or $5 out of their pocket to give a tip. And yet, we sure do get a lot of God bless yous. Thank you very much. Really appreciate it. God bless you. No tip. You know what we would say as valets? Keep your goddamn God bless yous. Give us the damn tip. That's the salvation we need because we're being screwed by the employer. And people are screwing us left and right by not tipping us after you spent hundreds and hundreds of dollars in a hotel room and at the bar, and you don't have enough cash left to give us $3 or $5 for a tip. And I want to tell you, God's salvation looks very different in that situation than going to church on Sunday and responding to an altar call.
See, your passage just reminded me of your story just reminded me, your statement, right, just reminded me of the passage in James 2:16, where it says, "If one of you says to them, 'Go in peace, keep warm and well fed,'" that's kind of like the
Mm,
cliche of "God bless you."
yeah.
Go in
Oh
peace, keep
yeah.
warm and well fed. You know what I'm saying? That was just a
Oh
phrase
yeah.
that it says, "But does nothing about their physical needs. What good is it?" In the same way, faith by itself, if not accompanied by action, is dead. So this, God bless you, but doing nothing about someone's physical needs.
Yeah.
What good is your faith?
Yeah. And the other thing we're getting is a lot of Merry Christmas.
Mm.
Well, yeah, we'd like to have a Merry Christmas if we had some funds so we could purchase our loved ones, some small gifts from the Dollar Tree or something. Yeah.
It's
Yeah, your
it's
your
those who
words
live.
mean nothing.
Yes, it's those whose experience in life is from that perspective who are the central figures in the stories that we're looking
That's
at.
right. That's right.
We've sanitized the stories. We've changed the stories. We've made them upper class stories, but that's not really what they are.
No.
They're stories for the valet workers.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's a lot to chew on there.
But
So
this
the story.
is go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
But imagine imagine if there were imagine if the people in churches just imagine if the churches in one city in our country all of a sudden woke up to what the gospels really
About
were saying, and they started living out this message
of equity
the
and justice.
to the to the maid service and the valets and the waiters and the waitresses and
The
the
high school
garbage
janitors and school bus
the
drivers.
janitors, the garbage collectors, and and really started saying, you know what? God has chosen us to be the ones to bring you justice. And we are going to work to make your lives better now, while at the same time, we're going to go storm the grounds of City Hall, the state capitol. We're going to go harass our, our federal representatives, and we're going to get things right for you. And until things get right for you, we don't rest. Just imagine one city of Christians who woke up to that and started doing that, what could happen in that city. It would be astounding the change that would happen for people in the lower middle and lower classes of that city. It would
And it wouldn't
it
be
would
lip
be
service to the good news. People would genuinely feel like, yeah, now this is the good news.
that's right. Say we will not talk to you about going to heaven until you can until you have 2 days off from work and can afford to live safely in affordable housing with health care. Once you have that,
Oh my
then
gosh,
come and
Todd.
talk to then come and we'll tell you about heaven. But until then, we're going to be working to get you that stuff. That's
He has
that's so
filled the
that's so
hungry with good
silly. That's
things.
so dumb.
No, he has filled the hungry with good things. He has been mindful of the humble state of his servant. He has performed mighty deeds with his arm. He has lifted up the humble. all of that. That's exactly what this is about.
Yeah.
Yeah. What a powerful passage. And what a
Mm.
check. What a check on how our own faith and religion can become misdirected.
Yeah.
What a good check. What a healthy check.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, it's a lot to think about this week, Todd. A lot for me to chew on.
Yeah. Let's
Oh,
let's
this
go.
is it, isn't it?
Well, that's what I was going to say. This is going to give us this is our nourishment to get us into the new year.
Yeah, we're not going to be back. We're taking off Christmas week and we're taking off New Year's week. So there won't be a just talking show for the next 2 weeks. You won't see us again until
That's our
January.
it's our Christmas
That's
gift
our
to
Christmas
you.
gift to you. Here's the good news.
This is
You don't
good
have to
news.
see us again till January.
I feel like John the Baptist is leaping in his mother's womb.
Merry Christmas, everyone. God bless us, everyone.
Yeah, we're going to take off 2 weeks. We're going to take a little break, enjoy our families, and hopefully you will be doing the same and finding some joy during the holidays. So, but I really hope Mary's words stay with you and uh,
In all
just
my
rile. I mean,
deconstruction,
just empower, just fire you up, and just say, man, this is.
this is
If
what
there's
it's about.
nothing else, anything else I'm going to do with my life, I want to sing Mary's words with my life.
Yeah. In all of my deconstruction, this is the part I can't shake. The stuff
Yeah,
that talks about this stuff,
yeah,
this is where it lands for me. So this,
yeah,
yeah, especially as I look out on what's going to be on our political, social, and economic horizon next year. I'm thankful for songs like Mary's tonight.
yeah,
It's encouraging.
yeah.
Yep. All right, Todd, tell us about
So
TJLCC.
thank you. I'm gonna just mention again that I'm offering a special Christmas opportunity to couples if you would like to invest in some relationship growth, you and your significant other, um, whether you're straight, gay, or whatever your relationship status is, you'd like to invest in some growth. I'm offering a 6 session package, which would include a scientific couples inventory that we will use to inform our sessions together. Um, I'm offering that at a 50% discount, and you can learn more about that at my website, tjlcc.com. And that offer is good through Christmas Eve. Herb, tell us what's happening at Renewed Heart Ministries.
So, for those of you who are unfamiliar with Renewed Heart Ministries, we are a not for profit ministry that helps people find the intersection, discover the intersection of their faith, their spirituality, and their passion and activism, and in the realm and in whatever area of interest they have in social justice. Um, Everything we do on our website is free. There's tons of resources there. So I want to encourage you to check those out. Podcasts, weekly blogs, this show, so much more is there on our website. And especially this time of year, I want to thank everyone who's supporting Renewed Heart Ministries, all of our supporters out there. For those of you who would like to join them in supporting Renewed Heart Ministries work, all donations from now till the end of the year, till December 31st, are being matched dollar for dollar. So that makes your support for our work go twice as far. And it helps us reach our operating budget for next year, as well as we set goals and see what we want to accomplish in 2025. But yeah, check out renewedheartministries.com and everything that takes you from there.
All right.
All right, Todd.
Well, to you, Herb, I wish you Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, and to everyone who is out there joining us. And both Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. If Hanukkah is a part of your tradition, I hope that that will also be very meaningful. Kwanzaa, that will be a meaningful part of this holiday season. And for everybody, uh, may, as we enter into 2025, wishing you all the best as we face this potentially challenging new year together. Um, May we do it together, um, hand in hand, arm in arm.
That's right. Happy holidays, everyone. Thanks for watching tonight.